Hello guys. In one of my first videos, I referenced how Charlemagne had said that being able to speak another language was like having another soul. And today I want to expand on that idea for this video. There are two main reasons I find to this, and they have to do with the language itself and the associations one makes about them. First off, when you speak one language or another, there is a set of sounds that you have learned that are different from one language to another. For instance, in my case, English tends to be more complex in the number of sounds that you can make, and it also tends to be a lower volume. Spanish, on the other hand, tends to be quite simple in terms of the sounds you can make, but tends to be uh, quite uh, quite noisy at the same time. You tend to pronunciate things louder, and depending on the region you speak quicker or slower. So it depends not only on the language you're speaking but also the variety that you personally are speaking. And this is probably really noticeable when two different dialects or variations of a language are noticeably different. Like for instance, Irish from God knows United States English. It is really different overall. So language is one thing. On the other hand, you have the personal connections that you have made in your particular life with both languages. Like for instance, in my case, friends from Britain and friends from Spain generally tend to see me in different lights because I've been through a whole different series of events with each other. So unconsciously, when I'm speaking one language or the other, if you will, I'm playing a role or another, but none of them are really fake. They are just expectations that I make when I'm speaking that language and the memories that speaking that language brings to me. So uh, in that sense, you could say it's like having another soul, another character, another personality, and then you could go and make possibly a third point, and this only applies really if you have been doing the research. And sometimes when you learn about the mentality of a certain society, you tend to react to it in a certain way or another. Some people embrace it, some people unconsciously embrace it, some people go against it, some people just overall do not pay any attention to it. So that is one reason why speaking, well, those are some reasons why speaking one language against speaking another can make you feel like another person. Um, there's obviously a whole new level when it comes to what language you are most proficient in speaking. Uh, like for instance, if you were to be a Spaniard, doesn't matter how much time, well, that's not true. But generally, if you were a Spaniard and you learned English, or you were an Englishman that learned Spanish, you would tend to rely more on one language than the other, and that makes the foreign language to you be a little bit more robotic, more systematic. It's a learned language overall in the end, and it's not been inculcated into you since you were born. It's something that you have been developing yourself. Eventually, if you have spent enough time with the speakers of that language, or you have been learning enough of that language, you've been watching series in that language, reading it, and such, you may develop your associations to the point that it's like you were native in that language, and it certainly does happen. It's just something that takes a much longer time with with languages that you are learning actively against something that you learn by society. For instance, when I used to live back in Spain, I when I was really little, I used to be able to speak only English and Spanish. Generally, I would speak English to most people when I was really little and speak really little Spanish. But as I spent more time there, I learned Catalan from the locals, and it was a curious mix of school time, uh, out of class time, and also because it was slightly similar to Spanish, especially in terms of sounds, which made it easier for me to learn. So yeah, basically speaking one language or another can affect how you react or how you think. So, it might be an interesting experience for you to try to think in a language that is not your own, a language that you are learning. Or if you are already able to speak a variety of languages, try to force yourself thinking in one language or another, or and then speaking in another language. See if that affects it, because I know it may not be entirely practical, but it makes you understand a little bit more about the nature of those languages and the societies behind those languages. So, it's well worth it, even if it's just for the experience. Well, that's enough for today, so bye.